Attention Pokemon players, you are listening to Triple P, the Pittsburgh Pokemon Podcast. I am your host, Jake Abrams, alongside Nick Yurko, aka the Duke of Hobbies.
How's it going, Jake?
Not too bad at all. Just early morning recording for us today. It's a little different from the norm.
Yeah.
I'm a little tired from last night. My wife, she had to go take care of stuff at her aunt's house, which is like 2 hours north. So it was just me and Brody last night, and we played like 6 straight hours of Among Us up till midnight.
Oh.
And I'm a little tired, but I started out real slow with some sloppy kills and whatnot. I started to get a little sneaky towards the end whenever I was the imposter. So I feel like I'm slowly improving my Among Us game.
Well, that's good. No, it's such a fun game. Yeah, I was pretty tired and late last night because I did a bunch of house stuff and a bunch of family stuff. Got to see a newborn, which was really neat. She's really cute, and so it's just kind of finally nice to see her. And then, yeah, it was just a relaxing time. But I've been staying up way too late during this week, so I passed out. So it felt good to get like a nice long sleep in for me. I feel finally rested.
Yeah, once you start getting towards that 30 mark, you can't stay up as late as you used to, and so it really catches up to you at the end of the week. So there are definitely like days that you will crash. Like today, I'm probably just going to crash most of the day because although I slept 7 hours, I still don't feel like I've slept at all.
Oh man, no, I normally can feel good after 5 hours of sleep, but I'd gone way to bed too late. I was like going 2 to 2:30 sometimes, and that was just bad.
You're crazy.
I'm always been a night owl, so it's not that big of a deal. But that was even pushing it for my normal limits.
Yeah, midnight's pushing it for me. Even back in my early 20s, whenever I was out with friends and doing, early 20s things, I was always the first one to like, hey, dude, I need to go to bed. And they're like, dude, it's like 10 o'clock. I'm like, dude, I'm tired.
No, I was always last.
I was always a morning person. I'm always the first one awake.
All right. Well, there's been a lot of talk in the community lately. We got a lot of news that we want to talk about today. So just kind of for the listeners and stuff. So we're going to cover a lot of our news. A lot of really cool articles have come out, especially on Pokebee. So big shout out to them for all the information that they provide again.
Great
and then Jake, we got a really cool topic because you had an awesome Friday, and so that is going to be Players Cup 3, especially since it's just us two today, and it'll be fun to kind of go and start talking about the game itself in terms of what we're seeing, how we're seeing it being played out. So, all right, let's jump right into this here now because this week we had a big release that comes out, and that being the Shiny Fates.
Shiny Fates is out. It hit the market. It hit Targets, Walmart's, LGS's, and you wouldn't know it if you went into there most likely because I haven't seen any.
I haven't even seen the cardboard like someone in checkout line. They got the last one or something. It was just it was so gone, and that is really frustrating. Now we do know from a lot of other talks that there is and even Pokemon coming out about this, the fact that there's production issues going on.
Yes.
So that really sucks. That just is super annoying. But I even think, you've heard this rumor going around that there is a distributor upcharge kind of going on because they've gotten less. And they might not have gotten significantly less. They might have just gotten less. Yeah. And because they got less, they need to increase the price on their end to make up for that lost product.
Yeah, and in turn, the LGSs are potentially having to upcharge us more than they would like to, which it really just the bottom line is it's hitting the customer a little harder.
Right.
It's harder to find, and when you do find it, it's ridiculous prices for sure.
Right. And I'd say this way, like, I think I've heard that there's a few stores outside of the Pittsburgh area when I was talking to some listeners and players that they basically the pre-orders that they were expecting to get, they had to reduce because the cost was so high on the distributor side that the stores were like, I can't afford moving that cost on to my buyers.
Yeah, I've also heard, like, with our LGS, they weren't allocated what they were promised, and they didn't find out until like less than 24 hours before everybody was supposed to start getting their product. So whenever I showed up, anything that I pre-ordered wasn't there, and I know some of our locals like Whimsy, he didn't get what he directly wanted or needed. He did get some stuff, but it wasn't what he was pre-ordering.
Right.
And even at that, like we were saying, they had to charge him more than like the normal price for MSRP.
Which is frustrating.
Finding it at MSRP at like Target or Walmart is basically impossible, or even like GameStop. I've talked to a couple of locals. One local, he let me know. He's like, oh, I went to like 3 different Walmarts, 3 different Targets, a GameStop, and I found nothing. And then eventually he went to an LGS and found an ETB, and they were charging like $150.
Oh.
I was like,
now remember, Shiny Fates though. The neat thing is, we're going to get into this. Is there is not a ton of required cards from that, which is good for players in my mind. There's not a lot.
This is more of a collector set, so I would say definitely hold back. We've seen it with the other sets, especially in the last few months, where if you just kind of be patient, you'll eventually see it. I mean, Champion's Path did start finding its way into Targets and Walmarts at a decent clip there for a while. So please, just if you can wait, don't pay these scalpers the tremendous costs and upcharge, and they hopefully will go away at that point.
Right. I would say, like, again, if you're the cards that I really want still. And it's not because of ADP, since I don't play ADP, but it's Rusted Sword and Rusted Shield that I'm looking for. And I'll probably get 4 of each of them. And I'm going to wait until I can get them off of from a local store, and just in singles. Because those are the only cards that I see of value that I want from there right now for my play style. So.
And honestly, if anybody listening here is a competitive player primarily and is needing any card, just go and buy the singles on TCG Player.
Yeah.
Like you were saying, Rusted Sword, I think, is like 15 cents on there right now, or at least last time I checked. So you don't need to spend the crazy amount of money to hopefully pull it. You can find those singles in different areas and definitely save money that way.
Yep. Yeah, and again, if you're, the one thing I found interesting with Shiny Fates is with PTCGO, and I haven't checked yet, and I'm going to give it a couple days because I have a feeling it's highly fluctuating and everything, is the price of Bolton. Okay, so this is a very valuable card, obviously. We see it in pretty much every Pikarom deck out there. And it was at, I think, a high of 32 packs.
Something in that realm, yeah.
Yeah, for trade, straight, for Vivid Voltage packs, and which is, understandable. It was so valuable there, fit in so well for Pikarom, and people were hunting for them. Shiny Fates brought Bolton again. So you have double the, you have 2 ways of getting Bolton V in there, and I have a feeling, and the fact that you can buy a tin with Bolton now means you can buy a code with Bolton.
Yes.
So the value of Bolton probably should go down.
Hopefully.
But hey, I mean, the digital version of those cards are easier to obtain.
They are.
Yeah. So we're gonna keep an eye out for that. We'll probably double round and double check on that as the probably by next week to kind of see how that might have fluctuated. Who knows? It might have tripled in price because of the fact that it's a nicer looking version of Bolton. It's it's a shiny version of Bolton.
Yeah,
Who knows?
it's a very popular meta card. It's a very just good looking card in collectors' eyes. So I can see it going either way.
Yeah.
But before we move on, I do want to say, as far as like the digital cards, I do want to thank our buddy Dan Yurko. He got a hold of some cards and pulled his online stuff and got a shiny baby Inteleon and gave it to me just for being a friend. And I very much appreciate that so much because I how I love Inteleon in that Charizard deck and other decks might hopefully going forward.
Well, he did me one real good too. I got a Ditto V from him, and now I had and understandably he's like, I really want your special water energy for it because I'm like, sure, I will trade that for a Ditto any day. So I was happy to give that to him, and it was awesome to get that Ditto. Again, I really like Ditto. I want to play test Ditto a lot, so that is another one I'll try and find, but. It is what it is at this point. Let's play the patient game because I think it's gonna pay off. We already are seeing reprints for other sets be announced. I believe Champions Path is one of those that they already re-announced more reprints. So I would expect Shiny Fates to kind of get a minor reprint at most, just because of the fact that this is a distribution and manufacturing issue, not a they want to make it limited. So just keep your, again, pay attention to the news. Don't overpay. At least if you're going to overpay at a local game store. At least that goes to keeping the lights on there.
Support your LGS. I mean, a lot of them are hurting a lot right now with the pandemic. And I'm not saying, hey, just like pour a bunch of money in it. But if you have the means and you are going to buy stuff and you can support them, we need them for whenever the world opens back up for sure.
Yep. All right. So that Shiny Face is Shiny Face right now, but there's some really cool stuff that came out. Jake, there was a really cool article that really talked about basically the March release of Matchless Fighters, as it's going to be called in Japan. This is going to be our August release, I believe. And we got a brief around 15 cards. Well, again, I'll make sure I have all these links in the show notes below here. So, we got some really cool cards to talk about here. So, Jake, can you give us a big rundown of some of the major cards that you saw out of this small preview article?
Yeah, so the big one is Blaziken VMAX. I think that's what everybody they're having the hype about. So let me pull him up here. He's a rapid strike fire type. He has 320 HP, water weakness, and then he has 2 attacks. So the first one is just a fire energy cost, just 1. Does 60 damage. The defending Pokemon can't retreat during the next turn, which is, it's not really that great. I don't think anybody's going to be that excited about that. But the next one here is Colorless. It does 130 damage, and it says attach an energy card from your discard pile to up to 2 of your benched Rapid Strike Pokemon. So there's 2 reasons why this is getting everybody hyped. This is one-shotting a Zacian, and Zacian's probably the most overpowered card in so many situations. So there's that, and it's for a double colorless, so you can definitely just attach one of those Rapid Strike energies, and you're off and running. And then on the second half of this, you're accelerating to another Pokemon that's a Rapid Strike. So you could theoretically hit into even if it's not a Zacian, you can do 130 damage and then excel energy to your bench, Urshifu or another Rapid Strike, and then switch out because he has a retreat cost of 2, so a balloon fits perfectly on him. and then you come up with a Urshifu, and at that point, hopefully you've already evolved him to the VMAX, and then he just does his thing, and you're spreading damage, and you're off and running. And if you didn't kill what was in the active in the first place, you're probably knocking him off at that point.
Right. And what's the craziest thing about here, to remind everyone, is Max Blaze is double colorless, which means the Rapid Strike energy works for it.
Yeah, and Rapid Strike energy isn't even fire, but it's double colorless, so it still just works. So it just ties in very well.
Right. And I what I find very interesting in this one for me is this is a very interesting way of making Blaziken a dual type Pokemon.
Yep.
Like, I like that concept here. It is fire, has the water weakness, but yet it is being able to use fighting energy essentially to do its attacks. Really cool. Awesome
Wasn't
concept.
his baby version like a few months ago dual type as well?
It counts as dual type. It was fire, but they put in there its attacks count as fighting or fire. And I had done a small deck that was fun against it was fun against Eternatus and other fighting weakness ones, because all of a sudden you could do a colossal engine with it, and it was fun because it was just like, here, boom, one shot, or it might have been two shots still. But it was still still really strong. Baby prize. It was definitely slower than the Charizard one, but it was a fun one to do. And I like that, again, because if you're coming from the games playing like the video games, it's hard in my mind still to be like, well, Blaziken's dual type, and not kind of see that. And I love this is a great way of doing it in my eyes.
Yeah. Okay, so Nick, how about you pick another one that you are kind of excited about? We're not going to go through all these. We're just going through the ones we think are the best. So.
Right. And I had a tough time at first with Blaziken. I didn't really think it was all that great in terms of just other than the energy acceleration. I thought that was amazing, but it's tech. And then Jake had to remind me it's fire, and I went, oh yeah.
No welder needed.
No, a non-welder needed. So yeah, post rotation fun there too, but I got super hyped about a very specific V, because I've always liked this Pokemon, and I'm more excited about it now with the Clarion Slowking V. So, and its VMAX version. All right, so it's the V version is Darkness type. It has 220 HP, and for a single colorless, you got Mixing, which is discard a card from your hand, then draw 3 cards from your deck. All right, kind of like a good, if you're kind of behind single round, first turn draw phase ability for you.
It has utility.
Yeah. Oh, it is a single strike. I forgot to mention it. It's a single strike Pokemon. Mm-hmm. Then you have for Doomward. So it's a darkness and a colorless. The defending Pokemon is knocked out at the end of your opponent's next turn. All right. This is kind of a neat one. These are always the neat attacks, but the problem is there's a lot of switch in the game. You're not going to get this off. I assume that this attack would pretty much never hit unless your opponent kind of messed up.
Yes.
But let's go into its VMAX version. So 320 HP, still single strike. It has only one attack. It's a darkness and colorless, max toxin. You just do 10 damage. Plus, your opponent's active Pokemon is now poisoned. Okay, not a lot of damage there. During your Pokemon checkup, put 12 damage counters on that Pokemon instead of 1. I love that. I love a poison strike attack like that.
Yeah.
And, it being a single strike, and you get that single strike energy on it. Okay, so that's 30 damage. So that's 150 damage. If you have double, it's now we're talking 170 damage. Mm-hmm. If you have Emperor, that's 200 damage. Now, that's stacking on a lot there. Or you can do Toxicroak in this. So if you can get one more Toxicroak, that's just 15 damage counters added onto that Pokemon. And if you pair this well with the Eternatus, which I think will be a good Pokemon to pair well with the Eternatus since it's being a darkness, you could have a full floor line bench if you wanted to of the Toxicroaks, because some people run that. I still think a 3/3 line is all you need for Toxicroaks. So you're talking a ton of damage from poison. And if for some reason, like a Center Scorch Flare can't rotate out for whatever purpose because that's
Yeah.
their only attacker, and they don't have everything they can to get rid of it, then this is probably, you might be doing a trade here, with the knockout potential. Also, you're hurting Zamazenta, so that's
true.
that's very frustrating because it's the poison going on from there, and the Zamazenta is like, I hate you right now because I was supposed to stop you. So it's a lot of damage. It's a 320, so it has some weight behind it and everything, and I just think this is a really neat one. There's a lot of poison. I like poison, and I think this is a cool way to kind of implement that into that small initial amount and then just hit for a ton. So
Yeah.
Clarion VMAX, Slowking VMAX should see a spot probably as another utility Pokemon in Eternatus.
It's a utility. I do like the poison because it doesn't trigger like knocking out a Pokemon. So
Oricorio.
Oricorio's ability wouldn't work. Even if you were running into like a Swablu, Altaria, you're not actually damaging him with the attack, but the poison goes through and kills him. And then obviously if you're playing against a stall deck, sometimes you do have Oricorio, so it doesn't really count for that. So I can see some utility. I don't know how meta it'll be. It'll probably be like a B tier card.
Right.
As far as just playability.
Here's how I'll see it. It might be where the slot that you put Sableye in, it fits in there because of the fact that Sableye is so low HP.
Yes.
And that's scary right now because Sableye is a big threat out there against the metals and those wall damage dealing Pokemon or damage reduction Pokemon like Zamazenta, and your opponent's like, oh, I just can one shot it with Zacian now, and they can't. If you get this to VMAX, they can't. So that is very helpful in my eye. I actually could see a use for Memory Capsule, oddly enough, for this one. If your opponent somehow walled you with like DeciGoon, and you and like they only have one Pokemon out, you can hit them with Doom Word if you wanted to be cheeky, because it's going to take 2 rounds of poison to kill them. I mean, either way, it's pretty much the same at the end. But it's just kind of a funny kind of thing that it's the same attack, same amount of, and they basically can do the exact same thing in 2 turns. So you're really forcing your opponent to switch a lot here, and that might not be favorable.
Yeah, for sure. All right, well, let's go on to the next one. Lots of good cards here to talk about, and we were just talking about poison with the Slowbro. Looking at this. He's a single strike Pokemon as Beedrill. He's a stage 2. He's only 130. Like I said, he's single strike. He's grass. He's weak to fire. 1 retreat cost. But this one is very interesting. So let's see. He has 2 attacks, and they're both for a single energy. So Persistent Sting, if your opponent's active Pokemon has any special energies attached to it, it is knocked out.
Woo!
Yeah.
Talk about utility right there.
So he can just definitely just do, that one-shot KO on Urshifu or any of these guys that are trying to take advantage of the special energy. This is one of those special energy hate. There's a lot of special energy hate cards, but I think this is probably the biggest one. It's just an instant knockout, no matter what. There's no ifs, ands, or buts.
Well, there is an if, and I was just thinking about this right now. I didn't think about it when we first talked about this prior to this, but Wash Energy. How does that impact that? Because Wash Energy might actually say no to this. And I don't know the timing, and I think we have to confirm with a couple professors on this one, because Wash Energy ignores the effects of an attack. This is an effect of an attack.
Wash Energy is probably the exception. But if you're going with the Rapid Strike, Single Strike energies, or you're going with any of the any colored energies that are special, Aurora Energy, anything like that, it could just definitely, do work and instantly kill something for a one prizer. Now it is a stage 2, so it might get a little awkward getting it out or set up. So your opponent can definitely have a play around and gust it up and kill it before it ever does that. But it is a threat, and I think we will find decks that play this for sure.
Right. And go ahead. Say it's the next attack.
Yeah, there's next attack. It's not nearly as as crazy, but it just does for a single grass. It does 110 damage and discard an energy from this Pokemon. So, you're losing an energy, but it is decent damage for one prizer, one energy cost, and you can definitely set up another Pokemon for death with your bench or a secondary Pokemon after the fact. So.
Right. Well, I view it as this.
Beedrill will be there for sure.
Oh, yeah. That's why I view Jet Spear as I'm glad they didn't just make Persistence thing its only attack. Like, Jet Spear is, crap, we're playing against someone who doesn't use special energy. All right. So then, for some whatever reason, so Jet Spear at least allows you to, if you've built into this as a late game ability or, your normal setup, at least I can do something. So I think that was kind of neat of them to kind of include that in there. All right. Yeah. So I think I want to talk about one more card, and then I'll let you save the ultimate card to come out of this article, which I think a lot of people were kind of.
Ultimate's a strong word.
Well, it's
oppressive. Okay, let's no more dilly dally. Let's just hear what you got, and then we'll go into mine.
Okay. So they did reveal a very interesting trainer card out of here. I was thinking about talking about the baby Urshifus. They're fun. They're neat. They're it's kind of neat that we get baby Urshifus in their rapid and single strike. But the main one here I like is Brawly, actually. So search your deck up to 3 rapid strike basic Pokemon and put them on your bench, and then shuffle your deck. Rapid strike got fast if need be. In extra fast, and you're talking about really when it comes to setting up, getting the energy ready. So, say you got Blaziken V out there, or Blaziken V Max, and you had to use quick balls to get rid of the energy, put that in the discard pile. You had to do a couple things ready to go. And, Brawly allows you to get that bench ready for Blaziken VMAX to then start getting that energy out to the Pokemon that you need. I don't think it's it's a crazy card, but like one of two of it's kind of fun. It's going to be fun to use. I think it'll be an interesting card to kind of fit in, or it could turn into a Pokemon breeders kind of card where no one uses it because there's just faster ways, especially for a supporter.
I mean, there is a possibility for seeing this in the future for sure. Yeah. It will remain to be seen if it is actually like super meta or whatnot.
Right. And I think it's interesting to note, though, that there isn't a single strike counterpart to this in this release article right now. Karen's conviction is Leon for Leon with an extra caveat. During this turn, your single strike Pokemon attack do 20 more damage to your opponent's active Pokemon for each prize card your opponent has already taken. So Karen's conviction is kind of a neat late game card. Kind of come in, you need to push that a little bit of extra damage against, say, an Eternatus or something like that with the big health ones. And you can even, again, this pairs well with the baby prize versions of cards too, or the single prizers that are still single strike. So that can be that enough amount of energy that allows you to finish the game off and take home the dub.
Okay, and then the last one I really want to talk about is the Echoing Horn. I don't necessarily like this card, but I think it's very important to talk about. So basically it just reads, put a basic Pokemon from your opponent's discard pile onto their bench. This is not a good card, in my opinion, especially in a world where ADP will still be around for a couple months before rotation. So basically, an ADP player could use a Mawile and put a Dedenne on the bench, kill it with ADP, And then, so normally you'd be like, okay, my play around, I'm not gonna play a 2-prizer that you can just sing one shot. And then it'll be like, oh, I'm just gonna play Echoing Horn and pull that same Dedenne up, and then murder him again.
Mm-hmm.
And that's game.
Mm-hmm.
So it doesn't have to be. It just gives them more options to have that kind of strange win condition where they're not worried about knocking into the main attacker, and then they just knock out 2 Dedennes, and that's it. So it just gives them options, and it gives your opponent less play around to hold certain Pokemon, because if they've done what I've kind of already said, you're kind of just in trouble.
Right. I don't like this card. I really don't. I think this takes away from a lot of decks out there. There are control decks or wall decks and stuff, and like basically they really don't want to have those in my mind when I see a card like this, because think about it. You have, say you took out a baby, or like let's take Rowlet, for example.
Mm-hmm.
You take out a Rowlet, it's in its discard pile. They have a goon up, they're walling you, or Decidueye walling you off. Well, you just throw this down, boss, win the game.
Yeah.
With any deck, like, or like you're facing a big, beefy, burning energy Senate Scorch who has a ton of health, and they've successfully set up their bench so that they got nothing that you can one shot. Well, then you just pull this, put something in the open bench, come in and hit them again. Like, it doesn't even have to be a true wall deck. Like, it's a weird strategy removal card in my mind of an actual legit counterplay between decks. And I don't really like that in terms of, again, maybe because you're taking out cards, it's going to impact you a little bit. Yeah. Maybe some sort of consistency. But
I don't think it's a 4 of in a deck. And honestly, whenever ADP does rotate, I don't know if it's going to be as big of an issue because the prize trade-off isn't as bad. If you're only doing this to take a 1-prizer out and you're only getting 1 prize, I don't see a problem with it necessarily. It's more of just trying to get 3 prizes off of a easily one-shotable 2-prizer.
Well, you can do this to Vs. So you knocked it. Yeah, so basic. You can knock out a V early game, bring it up, and just rinse and repeat if you really wanted to. And you play Escape Rope. You could pair this. You don't even have to boss it. You could do a bunch of stuff. There's going to be a bunch of crazy combos where you'll Escape Rope around, or say, or Beetle. All right, or Beetle and Escape Rope. No bosses, doing Bird Keeper and a bunch of switches and stuff to move around and Eerie Beaming everything. You might knock out a few Pokemon, which would then give them the opportunity to put another bigger, healthier Pokemon that Orbeetle can't do much to and not work with to their advantage. And then you just take away their bench spot.
Yeah. And that's another thing, is taking their bench spot and taking away their opportunity to use a support Pokemon. Right. Is also something that you can't understate for sure.
Right. So this is a big card to introduce into the game. I'm glad it's coming out later in my mind, so I'm not looking forward to it, but it's gonna cause some crazy headaches, I think. So who knows? Maybe we'll see. Maybe we'll see. We can reach out to Chill and be like, "Is this your dream card right now for Orbeetle?" Jake, what are your other thoughts on this one? Because it just drives me insane.
No, that's basically all I got for that. For the ADP world right now. It's it can be very oppressive. Past ADP world, I don't have as big of an issue with it at the moment. Obviously, there's always potential for it just to be busted and meta breaking, but that's basically it. It just gives opponents more options, I guess.
Well, good luck to expanded players then.
Okay, let's move on to the next article because other cards were revealed. We got the Bird Trio.
Yes, but they're Galarian versions.
Yes.
So it was kind of it was really neat to see in the video game. when they brought the legendary birds back again.
Yeah.
But this really cool alternate version, and I love the fact that they put them in this game too. So in their but as a V Pokemon too. So
Yeah.
Jake, start us off. Let's go with
I'm going Zapdos. I don't
okay,
care.
never mind.
I
Never
don't
mind.
care. I'm going Zapdos.
All right, you do it.
Okay, so he's a fighting type Pokemon now. He's a basic V, 200 HP, psychic weakness, and no resistance. He has one attack, which is a fighting and 3 colorless energies. So it does 170 damage, and then before doing damage, discard a special energy from your opponent's active Pokemon. So you're playing against something with a special energy that helps prevent damage or anything like that. You would do it beforehand, and then you would do that damage before the defensive energy would come into effect. So that is very huge. But originally you would just be thinking, okay, that's kind of an awkward attack cost. But he does have an ability, and it says for each Pokemon V your opponent has in play, this Pokemon's attack cost is 1 colorless less. So, a lot of these decks have Crobats. They're going to have Krickettoons. They're going to have, your attacking Pokemon. So there's a very realistic chance in most games that this is just going to be a fighting type energy attack, and you're off and running and discarding energies from your opponent while doing decent damage to them for sure.
Yeah, but remember, look at the math on that. 170 fighting, and who doesn't like fighting right now, and who has a lot of V Pokemon on their bench at a single time?
Mm-hmm.
That's Eternatus, and that's a one-shot Eternatus for one single energy, and that is insane. Fighting finally got their backup Pokemon to Colossal in my mind. So, Surfetch was always interesting, but awkward.
Surfetch is good. It's good, but he's a little awkward.
It's awkward. It's awkward. And so, Surfetch was always like this. There's times where you just be like, I don't like you right now, bud. And then you'd get rid of it and you'd be okay with that.
Yeah.
This guy, keeping Zapdos. You just sit that in the bench for a while. It's only 200 HP, but man, as they build up their bench, especially post rotation, Sword and Shield up, I can just see Zapdos being like, I'm going to knock you out.
You put him in Urshifu or Colossal, and they're doing damage. Like he can just come up. You can put him well placed just at the end of the game and put him down, and then just attach energy and come up and knock him out. You don't even have to be a fighting deck. You can just have like an Aurora energy or something to that effect.
Good point.
And just place them down late game if they, not expecting, and they just come up in one shot. Any fighting weak Pokemon for the most part. So.
And 170 is a Sableye, and there's some lower health Vs out there too. So if you put like a Vitality Band or something that can increase the damage for a little bit, you're going to hit that 190. That's Victini, that kind of range there too. So it's not out of those attacks aren't out of reach too. So it's still I view it as this is a single energy attack cost Pokemon that comes in and snaps in real quick. Like it's a thunderclap. It comes in, hits, and it's probably going to die the next turn, but or you just won the game
for sure. Okay, so I stole the first one. I thought that was the one I wanted. So I'm going to be nice, and I'll give you the other two.
All right, so I'll go the other way then, with Galarian Moltres V here. So this is a dark Pokemon now. It is a basic with a single attack called Aurora Burn for 190 damage. This Pokemon does 30 damage to itself. It also has an ability. And that attack requires 2 dark and 1 colorless energy.
Mm-hmm.
So, but its ability, Bolstered Wings. Once during your turn, you may attach a dark energy from your discard pile to this Pokemon. You can't use this ability more than once ability per turn, so you can't double do this with like a bench version or whatever. Mm-hmm. But again, this is good neat follow-up Pokemon. It's 190 damage. You hit yourself for 30. Not really all that great. But it's still a decent amount of damage to attack, and it has its own energy acceleration, which is something that Eternatus doesn't like to be missing out on. And hey, look, it's 190, which isn't one-shotting Galarian Zapdos, but it's also just needs a Vitality Band, or you Goon Ping someone. And now you hit for 200. Boom.
So
Zapdos is gone.
The biggest thing I see with Moltres isn't his attack. It is the ability, and it isn't even the ability for himself. So the biggest thing that Eternatus has been struggling with is hammers, right? Yes. So say you have you're just playing in any other deck doesn't hit him for weakness, and they flip hammers, and now all of a sudden you have no energy on your active Eternatus, even though you might have knocked something out and they response and you're energyless. You have one of these Moltreses on your bench. You use his ability, use the energy switch.
Yep.
Attach an energy to your active. Boom, he's already back up and running.
Right. And here's the key. It doesn't say basic. Now, you can't use this with single strike energy because it's not a single strike Pokemon, but you can use this with hiding energy. So you could have this guy stuck in the active with two retreat costs, grass weakness, by the way, which is really nice in my mind right now. I think that will help out all sets there, darkness and grass. But you could be stuck and you have a fully charged Eternatus, and you just pull the hiding energy from the discard pile and then switch and retreat and come in for a quick knockout.
The more I think about Moltres, I like him as a anti-hammer card, because the two decks, the reason hammers are really popular is Eternatus and ADP. And hammers are almost useless at this point, I would think, if it was built correctly and you played it right. It gives a better option of energy acceleration over rows. Or anything like that. So this is, I think, what Eternatus, or even Turbo Patch, because that's flipping coins. This is guaranteed that you just do that, find an energy switch, boom, bam, boom, you're good to go.
Yep, and I like this. And like I said, this can pair well also with our Galarian Slow King too, because that requires 2 energy. So that could be, like you said, that switch. That's that quick 2 energy also to do its attack. Again, there's a lot of it's good. It's interesting. I think it definitely has a spot already. I think So I was very excited about these first 2. Yeah. But let's go into this last one. I'll let you take this one.
No. I got first. I'm giving you the second.
All right. So Galarian Articuno. He has one single attack for 1 psychic, 2 colorless energy, psychic beam, 110 damage. Your opponent's active Pokemon is now confused. Its weakness is darkness, and it has a resistance to fighting, which is kind of nice. And it has the ability Psychic Construct. Once during your turn, you may discard 2 cards from your hand. If you do, draw 1 card. I hope that's a mistype.
No, it's not.
I know. It's not good.
It will go into control decks that want to discard specific cards, and it's almost like a Cinccino, a little stronger, and it actually has an attack that can do something if it's forced to. I don't see the attack being like the main reason you play it. I think its home, I think, is in more control archetypes more than attacking.
I mean, I could see this being useful for Mad Party. Oddly enough.
Yeah.
But at the same time, Mad Party does a really good job on its own without this.
Mad Party on its own, by the time this comes out, will look a little different, because you're not going to have the same energies. You're not going to have to worry about, you'll have to worry about ADV for a little while, but not too long after this. And this is kind of a replacement for like the Oricorio that some people play. So it's just a way to draw cards and get rid of things that you want. And a lot of decks like to just ditch cards. So this is a perfect way to do it.
Yeah. Again, it's definitely the more utility out of the other 2 in my mind. In terms of like, it's more special case.
Yeah.
So which is fine. It's just like it will take time, and it will take good players to figure out where this best fits. So like I think so it's just tough to fit right now without really starting to play test it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, I agree. All right. Well, I think now that's those two articles. There was one more article I wanted to talk about today. And that's the Battle Styles pre-release promos were announced for the Build and Battle kits.
Yeah.
And since I've been playing, there's always been like at least one or two really, really good ones, and then kind of 1 to 2, like, okay, why are you even here kind of cards. This one, in my opinion, every single one of them are a banger, and I think any competitive player would want all of these for sure.
Right. Like Vivid Voltage, I thought was very unique because there was 2 awesome ones in there. But like you said, it wasn't perfect. I mean, it just had the Charizard, so everyone was going nuts.
Yeah.
But this one has, I think, like you said, is some of the coolest, most useful cards.
Every single one of these cards are useful in their own way. So we actually went over all of these cards last week in our set breakdown.
Yep.
So I'm just going to go into it. We got the Octillery for the Rapid Strike. Awesome card for all the reasons we stated last week. Houndsdune. Again, awesome card for energy acceleration, single strike card, super awesome. We got the Cherum. Cherum is what we were saying is probably a replacement for like those special energies in like Mad Party, because it just accelerates grass energy to non-rule box Pokemon, and it can be in any spot. So awesome card.
Yeah.
And then Bronzong. Giving that defensive metal deck, their time to shine, and having a promo card or a build and battle card for that is super awesome.
Yeah, I have a feeling, Cherum and Bronzong in a pre-release event are you 2 that if you can get, great. I agree with you. Cherum is probably the better one to have. Because I feel like Houndoom and Octillery, you'll have the line, but I'm just not sure if you'll have the follow-up Pokemon for it. Again, we don't know what we're getting in those packs. You don't know what you're going to get, so you'll have to adjust in terms of how to play. But if the one I really want, like, we don't know what the artwork looks on them. Obviously, they're going to have the tag. There's probably going to be some variation on their current version with that little tag for Battle Styles in it. But I kind of really want the Houndoom because I really like Single Strike, but I also really want the Octillery.
Yeah, so, I definitely want both, but if I would have to choose, it would probably be Octillery because I'm more of a Rapid Strike guy. I don't think they're going to be the greatest for the actual build and battle, pre-release, if there are any small pre-releases going on out there. But I think for those tournaments, I think Cherum is the winner.
If you can get that evolve going, like just think about it. You get the evolve, you take only grass energy, and you don't even have to take only grass Pokemon, and all of a sudden you start responding with massive energy acceleration in a 40 card deck against.
It's mostly energy.
Yeah, that's mostly energy. Your opponent's going to sit there and be like, I don't like you right now. So, but which is rare because most of those games don't have a fast excel all of a sudden.
Yeah, for sure.
But all right, so that's the major news in the day, but that's not the only news you're going to get, because we're going to go into the Whimsy Watch next.
Hello, welcome back to another Whimsy Watch. I have some more exciting tournament reports to go over, so let's start breaking them down. I want to start with the $2,000 prize pool GG Tour Cup number 4 that happened on Saturday. It had 112 participants, and its meta broke down as follows. 23% of the decks were Eternatus, as well as 23% of the decks being Pikarom. 10% were Centiskorch, another 10% being the Tempozard Cressephilon deck, and 9% were ADPZ. The winning deck was a Tempozard Cressephilon deck piloted by username Allo, that guy, beating out a DeciGoon in the final. This Tempozard win came on the heels of my next tournament I want to look at, Limitless was back with a 236-person Rumble, which had a meta shakeout as follows. 14% of the decks were Pikarom, 13% being Eternatus, 12% being the Tempozard Cracephalon deck, and 11% being Luke Metal. Side note, ADP was still banned here in Limitless tournaments. So Pikarom and Eternatus once again fought it out for the top spot in the meta share, but the tournament was ultimately won by Hiromasa Shima with the Tempozard Cracephalon deck in what was a mirror match final. Now I just want to also point out that the top 5 finishers in this tournament, that's places 1 through 5, were all the Tempozard Cracephalon archetypes. This was definitely a coming out party for this archetype and showing that it can do well in a non-ADP environment as well as when ADP is around. There are various builds of this deck out there, but the deck is centered around Welder with the trio of useful attackers in Cramorant V, Blacephalon, and Reshiram and Charizard GX. Keep a lookout for this deck in tournaments. It's a hot one. Also, Players Cup 3, the key stages, is winding down, so get your keys in and done. That's going to wrap up this week's Whimsy Watch. Give a follow over at Watch Whimsy on Twitter, and I'll see you next week.
Thanks, Chuck.
Yeah, awesome. Nice report again there, Chuck. Thank you again for all that wonderful information. Mm-hmm. And now, Jake, our main thing we wanted to talk about is it's coming to an end. This should be from the end of this recording. We have about 5 days left to do it. And that is Players Cup 3. Now, like we hinted earlier in the episode, you had an unbelievably awesome Friday. You had the opportunity to be able to stream pretty much all day. And
yes, it was my first real stab at streaming in the past. Since I've got my computer, I've done 2-hour streams here or there with some tournaments or random ladder play. But yeah, I was on for 8+ hours and basically just doing all the remaining keys I had. I still have 2 remaining, but I've already kind of documented how slow of a start I had.
Yep.
And then I started, bringing it back, but I needed to play well to continue that. And I did just that. I ended the day when keep in mind, I still have 2 keys left, but I ended the day at 94 points, which I never thought I was going to be there after my first 10. There was no chance that I thought I would be there after that. I had a lot of really, really crazy games. Some swung really hard in my favor, some didn't. I ran into 2 tournaments where I did actually just lose the first rounds, running into a Colossal and then a Sandaconda, and I was like, what is going on here? And the Colossal game was close because, I'm playing Pikarom. Colossal's very close, especially if you can get that Mewtwo out. And it was just well played by my opponent. And then I was like, okay, fine, let's just go into the next one. Straight to Sandaconda. I was like, oh my gosh, what's going on here?
That one was rough because
he got everything he needed.
Turn 2 evolution to stage 2 evolution to Colossal, and then the engine was just up and going. And it was like they had already a fighting and a fire in the discard for some crazy reason. And then
every time, I was semi-bricking and I was trying to do what I could to slow him down, and he had an answer to every single time. But I had, those rough losses, but then I also had, a fair share of really key wins. And the one I want to kind of highlight right now was in my 43rd tournament, which was another first round opponent. I was playing against a Decidueye again with Pikarom. And this one was unique because I was having Luke Morza, aka Celio's Network. He was on, just trying to coach him. So this kind of coaching session was more, I want to kind of clean up my small mistakes. So what I asked him to do is just watch my games, don't say anything during the game, and just kind of, after the game talk about, any small plays I might have misplayed or whatnot. And so that was the first game he was watching, and I ended up pulling out a win with a Zera Aura. recently made a switch. Instead of the Tapu Koko V as the free pivoter, I switched to Zeraora, just the basic. He does 30 damage plus, I believe, 70
or 80.
Yeah, 70 or 80 if it's a V Pokemon. But so he's not really hitting hard. He's mostly there for his utility of just switch out. The same thing as like Tapu Koko was there for.
Right.
And he's worth less prizes. That's kind of what my justification was for. And it ended up at the very end. My opponent he killed my Tapu Koko after I hit him his Decidueye, and he couldn't. I couldn't hit enough damage to kill him that time, but I set him up where he had 20 HP left, and so he had a DeciGoon or a Zigzagoon in the bench, but he just scooped him up because he's like, okay, I'm going to knock this out on any typical Pikarom player, and then I'm just going to wall the rest of the game and win.
Right.
But I ended up earlier in the game I was trying to set up a Pikarom's GX move to hit the bench and an active Pokemon. Never ended up doing it, but I had a ton of energy on him. So what I ended up doing is I just I was like just going through my deck. I had 7 cards. Like I got it to a point where I had like 9 cards at the very end after he knocked out my Tapu Koko. I pull out the Zeraora and do a tag switch to give him both his energies, switch him up, and take knockout. It was the craziest
beautiful game to watch. It was a beautiful game to watch.
Actually, out of all the games I played, I cut that one out, and I actually did post it on our YouTube page. It was crazy. I was shaking for like a couple hours, like an hour afterwards. No, but that was again in the first round, and that win got me to get to play more games, and I ended up making finals. I didn't win that tournament, but it definitely got me 3 more points, and I'm at that 94 range, so I'm very, very like on the bubble. I think I'm safe at where I'm at, even if I get 0 more points with the last 2. But regardless, that specific win might have been the difference between me making Players' Cup and cut or not.
Mm-hmm.
But so that was basically my runs. I had some other really close matchups, but that was the one that I really wanted to highlight. But let's how about yourself? How's your Players' Cup run going?
Well, I'm the opposite of you right now. You sat there, you did the hard work, you put in the effort, and you've used up all but 2 keys. I'm sitting, I got 30 keys left. I have played 20 games.
You gotta get on it. I know.
Well, okay. So we'll get into this in a little bit here, but kind of give it a rundown. I've been mostly playing that Centiskorch Sylvalia mode. I find it just very consistent because I've been having, when I dead draw, I feel like I have a good recovery with that. Yeah. There has been a couple games, and I've tracked this. This is interesting. I've been doing notes on this just to kind of see, like, because it drives me nuts when that happens, when you like pull one Pokemon. And I have, out of the 15 games I played with events, I should say, right now with Centiskorch, 3 of them, and they're all been first rounds, have been that I have no recovery at all, and I'm just sitting there like I'll get the null, I'll get the air balloon, I'll get and like I'll do something to maybe to Dene out, and like I get rid of like some supporters and like some energy, and I draw up, and I should expect something, right? Like good follow up at that point, even if it's not a Volcania turn 1, and a Centiskorch, and get the engine going and stuff, like something to feel comfortable. 3 times I had ended up, and one of the times I have this in my notes, I did a change. I had the Centiskorch or the Volcania. I sent Pokecom away. It pull it out. I have a null with air balloon in, and I did a hand change. Get rid of, I think it was like which was the frustrated part. A boss, a professors, a Marnie, and something else. I think it was a single energy, or maybe one less card. There, but either way, and then I pulled up 6 energy.
Yeah.
And you're just
that
like,
is a welder deck for sure.
And you're just like, you gotta be kidding me at this point. Again, it did, but I wanted to bring that up because that's not the thing that's not motivating me to play. Because that's only out of 15 events, that's happened once. So it's like not, and it's demoralizing. I just stopped playing after that. took a break.
That's what you got to do.
Yeah,
just
that's all you do.
Away, reset your mind.
Right. I'm sitting at 25 points. I have 3 tournament wins, once with Inteleon, 2 with Senate Scorch. And then Senate Scorch has gotten me a bunch of other, first and second. So it's just, I got 25 points right now. So I'm like, okay, that's not terrible, or anything. So I'm sitting
You're still within that striking distance.
Yeah. And then I did play one time with Eternus, one time with Colossal, and one time with Luke Melmetal, and I ran into a Sense Scorch and couldn't get the coding energy out, and I full metal GX and missed this next setup too. It was a bad play on my part. The Colossals, the Colossal and the Eternus, I actually ran into both of their weaknesses. Like, I played Colossal, they played Dragapult. I was like, great. And then I played Eternus and I ran into Colossal. I was like, great. It happens. Okay, whatever. So it's just kind of like annoying on that. But that was really early on. It's the one thing that's always hit me with Players Cup 3 and Players Cup in general is I really do like the best of 3 more than the best of 1. And
it's understandable. I mean, best of 3, it does show, who's the more skillful player generally, and takes out that bad luck, bad draw hand kind of a situation.
Right, and it's more along the interaction that I like of it, because of the fact that there is a lot of strategy going on. And I see that I miss from best of 1s, where when you play a best of 1, best of 3, like, you might win that first game, be playing the second game, especially if they're timed and it's a timed overall, you might scoop early a second game.
Yeah, for sure.
And I like that kind of interaction. And okay, that's not what I want. It's just, I'm basically what Players Cup 3 has motivated me to do, though, actually, has been, okay, I like that format more. I have to, if I want to improve my play, I got to play that format more. So, we have Chill Series 3 has been announced coming in March. I'm really excited about that. There's a bunch of other ones coming up. I'm actually going to take March to be my let's get into tournament mode style again. So I'm going to pick up my game on that end. And I think that's actually kind of neat. Like, maybe my motivation is down, so I'm going to use Players Cup 3. I'm going to try and still work it. Like, I have motivation to play, just not as much. I'm going to take the practice I do from this and use that to really step up my game in March. So, if you're starting to see Duke of Hobbies out there on the tournament scene, it's because, and I might not do well. Again, I'm still a newer player, and I'm going to make more mistakes than I expect to. But I'm trying to get to that top tier play as fast as possible. And I feel like for me, that's where I want to see it at. So,
Players Cup is still a great way to do it. The reason they don't do best 3s, especially in this first round, is just time constraint. Like, imagine a person like yourself. We have 6 days left as a recording.
Yeah, 5 or 6. Yeah,
5 or 6, and you still have 30 tickets to you, or keys to use. Imagine if that was best of 3 and not best of 1.
Oh yeah, no, yeah. Well, again, I think we'd be a much different event if it was best of 3.
Yeah.
It'd probably be like you'd have to sign up ahead of time. Like, you sign up for a 10 o'clock spot.
Yeah.
And you play for that time period. And you would do that every so often, or once a week or twice a week, kind of like that. And they could do that. Again, the players who are getting through Players Cup 3 and doing very well in it, like yourself, Jake, and also players, it's a lot of skill. It's a different mindset. It's a different play. And I think it's a lot of effort. A lot of good players can get through it, So it's a big props to those who are. Now, if you're a player like me who's sitting in this weird spot where I have time and I don't feel and I kind of don't really feel the motivation to sit through it, that's okay too. But just understand, I'm translating this into something else. I think that's what players who do want to get better, who are listening to this, who do want to get better, have to make the conscious effort in the future to do. So, you have to put that motivation into something else. There are a lot of other tournaments that are going on. Play in those. Put that time in there. Just start off once.
No matter what, like if you're trying to
Yeah.
improve your game, you just have to put the time in. It doesn't matter if it's Players Cup or if it's Chill Series or Hexters,
Yep.
or just even ladder play. You have to put your time in to get your sequencing down. Just know your matchups. Know what your opponent's deck does. Know what your deck does. There's just so many things that go into becoming a good player. And not to say I'm the best player ever, but I put a lot of time and work into it, and it definitely show like if you know all the matchups and interactions, it gives you the best chance to win in the future. So you definitely, the only way to do that is to put time in and play. And play against play a variety of decks. Don't just play one deck. Playing a different deck, even if it's not your archetype or something that you enjoy necessarily as far as deck construction, at least you know what that deck wants to do to succeed, and it will help you play against it in the future.
Right. Let's take ADP. A lot of people think you can, and there was I know there's Twitter. It's always Twitter. There was something going around like people are like, oh, you could just be mindless and play ADP and win keys. That's actually incorrect. It's never been true. ADP, you can't be mindless. You have a very distinctive strategy for it. Problem is, the better players that you run into in the events are going to know what you need to do because they've either played ADP, they understand ADP, and they know how to counter ADP with their deck. And if you're not paying attention, you're going to get slapped. And you're going to get slapped in a way that really ticks you off because you're like, well, I'm ADP. No, you fail to understand what you need to do with ADP. You took the easy route in the sequencing rather than adapting to your opponent's play style.
Yeah.
So like I've seen people who, they forget to donk with Zacian round one.
I've had games where I've come back and won because my opponent could have donked me with Zacian, but they went for Ultra Creation and gave me the time to come in and potentially disrupt them. So you got to read the board state, and just because ADP's general game plan is Ultra Creation boss doesn't mean that that's the only win condition.
Right. Jake, you saw that string of messages I sent you the one day. I was so angry. I was playing Sentinel Scorch again. I think it was a round 2 game. I had this, I knew I was in a bad spot because I was going to take out their ADP turn 1. I was very happy with the Senate Scorch, but they went crazy Energy Excel with Intrepid Sword with their one Zacian. And I was like, oh, come on. And I knew the follow-up was coming.
Yeah.
And they did exactly what I was expecting them to do. And I was so angry because they basically only attacked twice. They knocked out, but I had to use 2 Crobat and a Denene, and they boss to win after they got the altar up.
So it didn't need the Echoing Horn is what you're saying.
Yeah, they didn't need the Echoing Horn. And I actually adjusted my strategy this one game. It was a follow-up, pretty much mere setup of everything going on. The Intrepid Sword, full energy with their Zacian for what, or they Metal Saucer. They got 3 energy already on. They have an ultimate raid, but they definitely GX'd. And I bossed up that Zacian this time, burned it to the ground. They then responded with Ultimate Ray one more time. I was able to build up my bench with my Senate Scorch, bossed up the next Zacian, took it out. They knocked out my Senate Scorch, but I had this beefy Senate Scorch ready to come up and finish that game. And it was, again, I liked when I learned from that in Players Cup. But that was weird because that's rare that you get to see that. And so I was happy I got to, because that made me feel best of 3 and I split it. But I have a very good record against ADP pretty much in this event right now. So it's just, again, my big thing is Jake had that motivation. Jake's a very good player. He could get through this. He has this determination. This is what his goal is. I fell aside. I feel bad that I did, but at the same time, I'm pushing forward with it.
Shame.
And I think that's a lot of players.
Shame.
Yeah, just need to shame. But I think a lot of players are in that spot. I don't know how many times I see on Twitter, in our Discord and stuff, that there's a lot of players who are like, I got a lot of keys left. Okay, what's the next step then? That's the question to ask.
For sure. All right, so we're just about wrapping up. There is a topic I do want to kind of address as far as Players Cup here. So we're ending this round of Players Cup on the 26th. Is the cutoff date. Pokemon also has the team events going on, and those will be wrapping up the 28th. So the unfortunate thing is they're both the next phase of both of these tournaments start on March 20th on the same day. And I find it's very discouraging because there's a possibility I'm going to make the team, or I'm going to make the cut in that bubble round, but there's a possibility I'm going to be there. There's a possibility our local that made the team as well. Ryan, he's been motivated. He's
doing
close
awesome.
He's at close to a 2 point per key ratio. He has, I think, 15 to 20 that he said he's going to get done here, probably while we're doing this recording at the moment. So there's a very realistic chance he makes the team, or he makes the
he already made the
cut
team. Yeah.
Well, yeah, but he makes the cut for Players Cup. So that's 2 of our 4 people that are on the team for our locals that potentially are going to make the cut for Players Cup. So what are we going to do? Just so Pokemon has these the team battles against other stores are going to be 3v3. So it leaves room for one person. But so there's going to be lots of teams that are potentially just going to lose their team event because 2 or more players made Players Cup cut. So they obviously I think that's the choice to make as an individual player is you got to play in Players Cup over the team event. And I just find it very disheartening and kind of disappointing that Pokemon would put those on the same day.
I think all we really can do is make some noise, in terms of, we got to start bringing this attention to Pokemon, like, hey, what are you guys doing? Just put them a week apart for us.
Yeah.
Just March 20th and March 27th. That's fine. Let the tag teams go off another week. That's going to give those teams enough time to strategize and figure out how to fit together.
So the team event, they all it's like I think it said it was 6 weeks, 7 weeks long, but just push it off one day or just 1 week, and that way. There's a very less likelihood of a player at PC3 that's going to have to miss their team event because of this. Because after that day 1 cut round of PC3, there's only going to be 16 players per region. So that's a lot of people are going to get cut out at that point. So then they can kind of participate. So it's just a little disheartening, like I said. So.
Yep. Yeah, it's frustrating because it's one of those things where it's like I was very excited for it in terms of the team event. I still am, even though I'm not on the team. I'm excited. Like, do they have a fill-in spot? Like, do they have alternates available for people? And it doesn't sound like there's a plan for that.
I don't think they can do that there because then you get ringers that come in.
Yes. Oh yeah.
So you can't do that.
No.
So it's just kind of unfortunate.
Yeah, that's why it's the easiest solution is for them to push back. And the only way they're going to do that is if it's brought up to enough of their attention that you have a bunch of teams that are like, look, we have players who obviously should play in Players Cup 3. It's one of the bigger events of the year. Let them play that and not be interfered with tag team or that interference. So, hey, all we can do is, like I said, let's reach out to Pokemon. On our end, we'll do our part, and we need our listeners to do their part too.
Yep. I guess there's one last thing. It's not really a news item. I just want to give Luke Morris a shout out. I was watching his stream the other day. He was playing his Rusty Zacian list, which is ADP without ADP. He just replaced it and put the Rusted Sorted, and that deck, if you haven't checked it out, go on his YouTube page at Celio's Network and check that out. That deck is I think just the Turbo Zacian without the prize excel. So he was destroying ADPs in the semi mirror match, and it's already just causing havoc on the ladder for sure. So whenever it opens up for official play for these tournaments, it's going to be something you need to be aware of. So definitely check out his video to see if that's something you want to play, or even just to kind of maybe get an idea or so to how to counter that deck.
Yep. Yeah. I like watching Celio a lot. He's been who I've been watching. His videos have been just amazing content lately. And, again, you put, Jake, I got to give a big shout out to you just because of all that whole day. Like, that's awesome. I enjoyed watching that. I was actually off that day, and I got to jump off and on and got to watch you play. And, it was so awesome to just kind of see those games, especially those major ones where you pulled out or you just got the win, or, you just smoked them. I enjoyed watching those games too a lot more.
I enjoy the close ones where you kind of have to think your way through and maybe have alternate win conditions. But yeah, I appreciate you coming on and supporting me while I'm trying to do this stream stuff. For those of you who don't know, I'll be streaming every Friday on Pittsburgh Pokemon or podcast Twitter page, or not Twitter, Twitch. I'm sorry, Twitch, on the Twitch page. So yeah, so it's been fun. I definitely would like, for more people to come say hi and just check it out. And you can critique me while I'm in the middle of my game, on my game, or just my presence on camera. I'm here to learn and have fun and just play some Pokemon.
Yeah. So I think. Oh, I actually have one more announcement, and I actually didn't tell you this yet, Jake, just because I forgot I wanted to announce this. Is we're actually going to introduce another monthly show for the Pittsburgh Pokemon podcast. It's not going to be on the podcast side. It's going to be on YouTube also. It's going to be an older show that I did one time. I did a pilot for it, and now have the time, and I finally worked it out with the new setups and everything. It's going to be around the board. So this is kind of a really fun kind of game. We're going to bring everyone on. We'll record it, and then we'll consider doing it live in the future again, but we're going to just stick to once a month. And essentially, if you guys have watched Around the Horn on SportsCenter, this is that. There's going to be 2 major discussions off of a specific topic. There's a timed event. It's only about 10 minutes each round. And then there's a bonus question, which is always fun. And then finally, we're going to follow up with the winner, who, based on the points they get on the responses and discussion, will get a 1-minute rant on whatever they want to talk about. So it's just kind of a fun thing, but it's more real talk, more real and an interaction, because there's going to be 4 contestants each time, and then I just kind of moderate a little bit of it. So I think we'll have a lot of fun with that, and we should be seeing that upcoming soon. And also, don't forget, at the end of the month, we're going to have our second Whimsy Watch monthly report with Chuck, because that's always fun. I enjoyed that last one, and we got a lot of good feedback from that too. So, and we have some new tools to work with. So, yeah. So,
and to couple that, we're also going to start putting our podcast, the audio version only, onto the YouTube as well, to just give you, all our listeners, a different platform to do that. If you're not a fan of Spotify, which some people love it, some people hate it, and then Apple, if you don't have access to that. So it just gives you another means of listening.
Yep, and that's going to go on the day after, just because of audio fixes that might happen the day of for the podcast. So those will come up on Thursdays every week. So, all right. Thank you again for everyone listening. Thank you again, Jake, for that awesome rundown. And that's it for me.
All right. Have a good one, guys.
Thank you again for listening to the Triple P Podcast. You can follow us on Twitter at PitPokePod. You can join our Facebook group and Discord server to play and chat all things Pokemon. Check out our YouTube channel, and we stream openings, matches, and events on twitch.tv/Pittsburgh Pokemon Podcast.